In today's video, we're diving into something every filmmaker should understand: how to calculate how much footage fits on your memory card, how to protect that footage, and why a proper data workflow can save you from disaster later. My name is Timothy Reese, and I've worked in the television, film, and photography world as a director of photography and a photographer for nearly 20 years. Check out my videos as we cover not only the how, but also the why of various technical and creative techniques used in the creation of real images. To this day, I know people that don't know their bits from their bytes, or their megabytes from their gigabytes. In today's digital society, everyone should understand what the differences are between these things. It's kind of like a digital literacy. Bear with me because this is going to start to get into the weeds a bit, but I promise we'll be out of them soon. I'm going to talk to you about data, from the smallest bit of a 0 or a 1 to terabytes. So everything starts with the bit, and from there we will get to the terabyte. 8 bits equal 1 byte. And from there on out, every step up in a data size is just a multiplication of 1,000 units of that previous size. Now, there's a slight discrepancy in the math based on how the data is presented, with a rating in decimal reading at 1,000, or a binary reflection of this number displaying 1,024. So to make the math real simple, just round down to 1,000 on everything. So with that said, 1,000 bytes would equal a kilobyte. 1,000 kilobytes would equal 1 megabyte. 1,000 megabytes would equal 1 gigabyte, and so on. To put these numbers into scale, something like the size of a Word document might be measured in kilobytes, the size of a photograph measured in megabytes, and the size of a video file measured in gigabytes. With that knowledge, if you're running out of space on your phone, the first thing you should start deleting are the videos. Now, because of that difference between decimal and binary that I just mentioned earlier, the effects of that different math will scale as you start to get into larger amounts of data. And it's this discrepancy between calculating the data with the decimal or the binary approach that might make it so that your 1 terabyte card might show up as about 930 gigabytes when formatted. One more mind-numbing set of weird calculations, and I promise we'll get into the good stuff. But it's important that you understand what's going on behind the scenes of all these really helpful apps and websites that we'll talk about shortly. Now let's figure out how long you can record on your memory card. To do that, you need to know your codec's bitrate, which is how much data your camera is recording per second. For a video, the data rate will be measured per second, and for stills, you will have a different file size estimate for each individual image, depending upon if you're shooting JPEG or a variety of RAW options. Let's use a practical example. Apple ProRes 422LT recorded in 4K Ultra HD at 24 frames per second. Video codecs are usually measured in megabits per second, not megabytes per second. So that's where things can get a little confused if you're not paying close attention. Megabits per second will be written out with a capital M followed by a lowercase bps. Megabytes per second will have a capital M and a capital B with a slash and lowercase s. Megabits are more a measurement of transfer speed than data size, so we need to convert them into something we're more familiar with, like the megabyte. Now, going back to our ProRes 422 codec, that is going to record at 368 megabits per second. Now, to convert megabits to megabytes, we just divide by 8. So 368 megabits divided by 8 equals about 41 megabytes per second. Now, all we need to do is scale up those calculations. If we're recording 41 megabytes per second, then to find out how much data we're using per minute, we just have to times that by 60 seconds, which gives us 2,460 megabytes per minute. Now, this number can get really big fast unless we can round it up to the next tier of data measurement, right? Now, we learned earlier that 1,000 megabytes equals 1 gigabyte. So if we take 2,460 megabytes and divide that by 1,000, we get roughly 2.46 gigabytes per minute. Since many memory cards are measured in gigabytes, now all you need to do is divide that number with the size of your card to get a rough estimate of how much recording time that card will give you with that specific codec, at that specific resolution and frame rate. Okay, the math is over. Rub your eyes, shake your head out. I get it, we're done. Here comes the shortcuts and the cheats. If you don't want to run these numbers manually every time, and who would, there are some excellent websites and apps that can calculate record times automatically. You just select your codec, resolution, and frame rate, and they'll show you exactly how much space you'll need. Here are a few worth checking out. Aja Data Calc is a free and available app for iOS and Android. It covers many codecs, especially flavors of Apple ProRes and Redcode, but it hasn't been updated in a while and is missing more recent codecs. Regardless, I still have this one on my phone. Now here's a website from Red. This one is perfect if you're shooting all types of different Red code. Now a cool website I just found is from Tech Media, and it has an excellent calculator on their website filled with many common codecs and settings so that you can fine-tune those calculations. Blackmagic RAW and ProRes record time calculators are great for anyone using Ursa, Pocket Cinema, or cameras recording to ProRes. Using one of these will save you time and give you a quick sanity check before heading out to shoot, especially if you're working with multiple resolutions or switching between formats. Now that we know how much our memory cards can hold, let's talk about some best practices for shooting and backing up our footage. If your camera supports dual slot recording, use it. There are two common configurations, simultaneous or redundant, where both cards record the same footage, perfect for mission-critical work like events or travel shoots where there are no do-overs. Then there's relay or overflow recording. The camera automatically switches to the second card when the first fills up. This is great for long interviews or continuous takes. I always recommend using simultaneous or redundant recording when possible, as it gives you a second backup of your footage right away in the event of a memory card loss or corruption. Once you're done shooting, follow the 3-2-1 rule if your budget and time allows. You'll want 3 copies of your footage, 2 as a hard copy like on an SSD or hard drive, ideally located in 2 different places, and if you have the budget, a cloud-based third backup is ideal. At an absolute minimum, you should always make sure to have 2 verified copies before formatting your memory card. In a pinch, you can use drag and drop to copy your footage, then right-click on the individual files to verify that the copied file sizes are the same as the originals. But ideally, you want to use a checksum verification method. That's a data integrity check that compares every bit of your original file to the copy. You can do this with paid software options such as Hedge or ShotPut Pro, but I also recently discovered that you can use the free version of DaVinci Resolve to do this as well. I'll describe how that process works in another video. Now, once the integrity of your backup copies can be confirmed, it's time to format your card. But always do this in your camera, not on your computer. This helps to ensure a clean file structure. With your squeaky clean formatted memory card, you'll be back out there capturing more great stills and video in no time, while resting assured the moments you've already captured have been safely tucked away. If you like these videos, please subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment about a future video you might want me to make. This user feedback really helps me see what users are looking for and ensures I can continue to make helpful and educational videos. Until next time, thanks for watching.